The scream tore through the void, and then the entire dimension shattered. No one ever thought that divine power could be broken, but you witnessed the impossible. Centuries ago, in the shadows of a forgotten cosmos, a renegade Otsutsuki clan roamed in complete exile. They were few, hunted by their own brethren, but they harbored an ambition that burned brighter than 1,000 suns. They wanted to transcend existence. It wasn't about conquering planets or sucking up chakra, dude. Their thirst was for something much more. They sought the essence, the source of all power, the cradle of creation that even the Otsutsuki elders feared to even whisper about. You'll understand why. In a forgotten cave, where gravity warped reality and the air smelled of pure time, the leader, Kaguya, you heard that right, the ancestor herself, found it. A scroll. It wasn't made of paper, but of star-like material that pulsed with its own light. And you felt a chill down your spine just looking at it. Inside it, cosmic diagrams and forgotten symbols detailed the primordial fusion. It wasn't just a technique, dude, it was a rite. A path to transcend Otsutsuki existence itself, to become a creator god. But the price. Oh, the price would be unimaginable, and you're already feeling the tension, aren't you? The renegade group trembled, not from fear, but from excitement. The discovery was dangerous, and the secret vital. They retreated even deeper into the shadows, planning every step of the ritual with surgical precision, because one mistake would be the end of everything for them. That scroll wasn't just power, it was their only chance at redemption, at glory, to turn the tables on fate. If they failed, they would be annihilated. If they were discovered, the entire cosmos would come to stop them. The risk was total. The preparations took EONS. Energy collected from billions of souls, dimensions sacrificed. You can imagine their sacrifice, the terror in the eyes of those who were consumed. And with each step, the forbidden power edged closer to being released. Finally, the ritual site was ready. A pulsating void, a portal to nothing or to everything. Kaguya stood at the forefront, and the surrounding darkness grew heavier, as if the universe held its breath. The first rune was activated, and then silence fell over the void, dense and oppressive. It wasn't the end, dude. It was the beginning of something grand and terrible, and the real storm was about to unleash itself upon all existence. The silence that fell over the void didn't last long, dude. It was shattered by a thundering roar, a guttural sound that seemed to come from the very fabric of the cosmos. It was the agonizing scream of the universe being forced to obey. The first rune demanded a non-negotiable price, and Kaguya didn't hesitate to pay it. A black portal, pulsating with distorted energy, tore open reality right there at the center of the ritual. From within, emerged the proof of Otsutsuki cruelty, and you felt the chill. Otsutsuki prisoners from rival clans who had been forcibly captured were now dragged to the edge of the abyss. Their empty eyes showed no fear, but rather a terrible resignation to their fate. They will be the victims of Kaguya-sama's ambition, a forced and macabre fusion. Kaguya-sama raised her hand, and with an unrelenting gesture, she cast them one by one into the abyssal rift. A final scream, almost inaudible amidst the cosmic cacophony, marked the brutal sacrifice. The portal closed, sealing their forced union and their fate forever. The energy that bubbled from there was insane, dude. It wasn't just common chakra, but the divine essence of two Otsutsuki clans, fused by the brute force of necessity. The air of the void grew dense, smelling of burnt stars and a profound death. But there was something wrong, and you felt the agonizing premonition that cut through the air. The energy didn't unite in harmony, but twisted, repulsing itself with untamed cosmic fury. It wasn't the controlled fusion Kaguya-sama had planned for her renegade brethren. A scream of despair erupted from Kaguya-sama, cutting through the din of the dimensions. The ritual was unraveling, escaping her absolute control right before her eyes. The primordial fusion, which was meant to create a new god, was transforming into a chaotic anomaly. The power was too much, uncontrollable, and brute. The explosion wasn't of light, as one would expect from a divine birth, dude. It was of an even deeper void, and an absence of everything that seemed to suck away the very existence of the universe. Reality around it shrank, and time seemed to pause for an eternal instant. At the center of that implosive chaos, something pulsed with a life of its own. It was small, dude, the size of a smooth, black pearl, but it radiated such intense energy that it made the entire universe tremble in silence. It was a seed laden with unimaginable power. This seed was not the perfect god Kaguya-sama desperately wanted. It was an aberration, the result of a failed fusion, but one that managed to concentrate all primordial force into a single point. A power that even she couldn't fully comprehend. You felt the distortion in the air. The intention was to create a perfect creator god, an entity above all. Instead, a divine abomination was born, a core of power without defined form, dormant, but with an overwhelming presence, with a latent ability to rewrite the very existence of the cosmos. This seed was a greater threat than anything the Otsutsuki had ever faced. The price of the fusion's failure was a cosmic time bomb, and the real storm was just beginning. That seed, dude, didn't stay in the void for long. It was expelled with brutal force, tearing through the fabric of reality like a cosmic projectile. Its descent was a trail of black light and distorted stars, a void that swallowed existence wherever it passed. No one could stop it because it was the very essence of forbidden power, uncontrolled and devastating. Through multiple planes and distant dimensions, the seed traveled. It broke through space-time barriers, burned unknown atmospheres, because its journey was a whim of fate, a cosmic accident of gigantic proportions. And then it found its way. It would fall upon a planet covered in vibrant green and crystal rivers, a world they called Earth. More specifically, into ancient, forgotten ruins where time had truly stood still. In a corner of this world, there was a boy, an orphan, perhaps 13 years old, and you'd notice his gaze, as empty as the cosmos Kaguya-sama had distorted. But there was something eyeing him, a hidden sensitivity, a resonance with what was not material. He wandered among the debris of that lost civilization, and you'd feel the sadness in the air with him. But then, a strange energy began to pulse within him, a primal call, something he had never felt before in his entire solitary life. It was a melody of chakra, but not just any chakra, dude. It was a divine symphony, pulling him with an absurd force straight to the heart of the ruins. You could see the cold sweat trickling down his face, despair and curiosity mingling. He followed that inner voice, leaping between gigantic stone blocks and crumbling walls, and the ground trembled slightly beneath his feet. The smell of wet earth and ancient stone mingled with the metallic scent of the intensifying energy. There, in the middle of a ruined temple, enveloped by moss and centuries of dust, it lay. The smooth, black seed, pulsating with a faint, almost imperceptible glow. But he saw it. He felt its incomprehensible magnitude. His fingers touched the icy yet warm surface of the seed, and the entire world stopped. A wave of chakra invaded his body, not destroying him, but filling every fiber of his being with a power he couldn't even dream of. It wasn't just an object he had found, dude. It was a catalyst, and that orphan's touch sealed the fate of the entire planet, because the seed had finally found its perfect recipient. The seed's touch was like an electric shock, dude, but it didn't hurt. A wave of pure energy invaded the boy's body, coursing through his veins like a river of fire and ice simultaneously, and his skin pulsed with a dark, almost imperceptible glow, one that only you would notice. It wasn't just a sensation, but a fusion. The seed wasn't absorbed, it dissolved into him, particle by particle, and every atom of the orphan's body vibrated. He felt his blood boil, his mind expand, and his heart race at a cosmic rhythm. Something bizarre. Whispers echoed in his mind. They were voices from a forgotten time, from extinct civilizations and distant stars. An archaic knowledge flooded his brain all at once. He saw quick images of worlds being born and dying, felt the gravity of entire galaxies, and the weight of the truth was crushing. His eyes weren't the same anymore, dude. A subtle, almost iridescent glow appeared in his pupils, and the energy the seed released now seemed to manifest. The air around him shimmered, subtly distorting the light. An invisible aura of power enveloped him, dense and cold. But along with the power came something more. A hunger, a primal and insatiable thirst for energy, for more chakra, for more strength. And it grew within him like a cosmic parasite. It was an emptiness that nothing seemed to fill, a new and terrifying sensation, and you would feel its urgency. He tried to resist, dude, tried to push that sensation away. The boy didn't understand what was happening, but he knew that hunger was dangerous, a threat to his very essence. It was as if his body was no longer his own, but a vessel for something beyond, and the struggle was internal. The cosmic knowledge continued to flow, but now it came with a cost. He saw the power of creation, but also the destruction that accompanied it, and understood that this seed wasn't just a gift. It was a curse, and soon, this curse would exact a high price from him. An unconscious movement of his hand, and a giant stone beside him levitated, not with force, but with an eerie naturalness, as if obeying a silent command from the boy, and then it fell without a sound. He didn't want it to, but the power was already manifesting, raw and uncontrolled. And then, a clear vision. Kaguya-sama. He saw her, not as in a dream, but with brutal clarity, felt her ambition, the pain of the sacrificed Otsutsuki, and the truth about the seed's origin was revealed. It was the legacy of a cosmic mistake. The transformation was irreversible, dude. His mind no longer thought only of himself, but of energy, of absorbing, of dominating. The emptiness of being an orphan was replaced by an emptiness of power, and the boy was losing himself, becoming something more, something dangerous. The hunger, the thirst for power, was no longer a suggestion, but an order within him. It was an irresistible urge that demanded more, and he knew what he had to do to quench it, because the seed was now guiding him to the next stage, with no turning back. The exact moment the boy's fingers touched the seed, a brutal pulsation echoed across all dimensions, tearing through the cosmic silence. Far away, on a higher plane where only the true Otsutsuki elders resided, the disturbance was felt. It wasn't a common tremor, but a deep echo of the forbidden fusion they thought they had sealed forever. The eyes of a millennia-old Otsutsuki, with a Byakugan that seemed to see through time itself, widened. He couldn't believe it. That power, he recognized, but it was altered, distorted, and far more brute than expected. The Council of Elders gathered in a floating hall, made of frozen starlight. The aura of power that was so overwhelming that you would feel the weight of 1,000 ages on your shoulders. The news spread like wildfire. The seed was active. But what was born was not the god Kaguya-sama dreamed of. It was an abomination, dude, a mass of primeval power linked to an unknown recipient. An anomaly that threatened the cosmic balance in a way they had never predicted. It was a plague, a cancer that needed to be excised before it spread. They knew this new entity had the potential to destroy and rewrite reality, and they couldn't allow it to fall into the wrong hands. You feel the imminent danger. The order was ruthless: recover or annihilate. There was no middle ground, because Kaguya-sama's failure had created a monster, and now they were the only ones capable of containing it. The survival of existence depended on it, and you understand the gravity of the situation. An elite team was assembled, the spearhead of the Otsutsuki, warriors of unparalleled power and dimensional abilities. They were ready to hunt the aberration across any planet, any dimension, to the ends of the universe. The hunt began immediately. They tracked the seed's energy signature, a cosmic scar that grew stronger, more palpable with each passing second. The path led to a small blue planet, an insignificant place to them. Earth, a vibrant and unknown world, was the target, where the seed had landed and where forbidden power was awakening in an innocent boy. They were coming, and you could feel the tension in the air, fate sealed. The storm was about to hit Earth, dude. The original Otsutsuki were coming with divine fury, and the boy, who barely understood the power that possessed him, was about to face an enemy he didn't even dream existed. The seed's touch was a fury within him, dude, and the boy could no longer hold it on. The primordial power he had absorbed exploded from his body, tearing the air with an invisible scream of energy. A brutal shockwave spread from the ruins, not only destroying the ancient stones, but pulverizing the soil and trees around them. The vibrant green of the planet turned to ash in seconds, and you would feel the Earth's pain there. He fell to his knees, his body trembling in uncontrollable spasms, his mouth open in a silent scream of horror. It wasn't him doing it, but the seed which now commanded his muscles, forcing the release of that raw power. The hunger the seed brought was a monster, dude, an emptiness that demanded to be filled, and with each explosion, the energy returned, amplified, further distorting the boy's mind. He saw more, but understood less, and his sanity was ebbing away. Then, a dark, almost imperceptible glow began to emanate from his eyes and skin. It wasn't a glow of life, but of pure destruction and the air around him pulsed with such dense energy that nearby animals dropped dead. The energy waves became more constant, stronger, dude. They tore across continents, ripping through mountains and opening deep fissures in the Earth's crust. The entire world began to feel the impact of this awakening abomination. Distant cities trembled, and you could see the terror in people's eyes as the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with the cosmic dust of everything being annihilated. The boy was no longer a local threat, but a global catastrophe. His mind, already fragile from loneliness, became a maelstrom of Otsutsuki whispers, of commands to destroy and absorb. The seed's divine power dominated him, and the boy's consciousness drowned in a sea of cosmic fury and hunger. He raised his hands, but it was no longer a human gesture. It was a force of nature, an uncontrollable impulse. And from his fingers gushed a black beam of energy that pierced the sky, reaching the very stratosphere. The planet was in agony, dude, and there was no one who could stop it. The boy, now a mere puppet of the seed, was about to unleash an attack that could rewrite the world's geography forever. Far away, in the reaches of space, the Otsutsuki elders' ship accelerated. They felt the explosion, the apex of madness, and knew the vessel was completely lost, and intervention became urgent. The seed's next attack would be the final blow for an entire civilization, and the Otsutsuki were mere moments away from witnessing the monster they themselves created, poised to annihilate everything in its path. The planet was in agony, dude, and there was no one who could stop it. But just as the black beam was about to pulverize the continent, a white flash tore through the sky, and an invisible barrier materialized, blocking the blow. The Otsutsuki elders' ship, a living fortress of cosmic energy, appeared on the horizon. It wasn't an attack, but a perfectly calculated interception, and you felt the relief, a reprieve for Earth that was on the brink of apocalypse. From within the ship, majestic figures descended, enveloped in auras that distorted light. They were the guardians of existence, the most powerful among the Otsutsuki, with eyes that saw the soul of dimensions. They came to stop the abomination. The boy, still a puppet of the seed, felt their presence. A primordial fury exploded within his chest, an instinctive challenge to those who sought to control him. His body began to glow with an even more intense, more destructive light. But the Otsutsuki didn't retreat, dude. They approached with a frightening calm, releasing containment seals that were invisible, yet palpable. Cosmic energies clashed, creating a storm that swallowed sound, and you would feel the pressure in the air. The boy's already overwhelmed body couldn't take it anymore. That dual pressure, external and internal, was the catalyst. He didn't explode, dude. He imploded, disintegrating into millions of particles of light and darkness that swirled in a perfect vortex. It was a brutal metamorphosis. The particles didn't dissipate. They recomposed, reformatted into something new, something that transcended human form. The air filled with the scent of ether and pure power, and the Otsutsuki paused, shocked. At the center of that vortex, a figure emerged. It was no longer the boy, but an entity of light and shadows, with eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. Its form was fluid, indescribable, a god of creation born of chaos and despair, and you felt the overwhelming power. The hunger the seed brought, the thirst for power, didn't vanish, but transformed. Now, it was a controllable desire, a cosmic intention to absorb and order existence, not to blindly destroy it. The being's purpose was unknown. The Otsutsuki, in turn, lowered their guard. There was no longer a monster to hunt, but a new deity, an anomaly that altered the very rules of the universe. They couldn't fight against creation because it had completely surpassed them. The new entity raised a hand, and a beam of energy didn't destroy, but reconstructed a mountain that had been pulverized. It wasn't a threat, dude. It was a sign, a newfound purpose of cosmic balance. And the saga was just beginning. And dude, if you enjoyed this cosmic journey and want to know where this new entity will lead the universe, then hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video that's coming with new adventures.